In this video, I will show evidence of the mind control that has taken place during the last 80 years to create fear and control. I think that after watching this video, you'll want to throw away your books about survival skills during a nuclear war. In general, whatever trick the infernals plot against you now and into the future, remember that you're here because they never managed to wipe your ancestors out. Don't be afraid of them. Fear is just another perverse distortion of the truth. For they are the ones who are really afraid of you. If they really had the power that we are convinced of, the world would already be depopulated. And in the context of this video, a nuclear war would have already happened. We have been bombarded with nuclear apocalypse propaganda since 1945. About once every 10 years we apparently avoid it. Let's start with a frequently asked question about Hiroshima. In 1945, with the first and only atomic bombing, an amazing coincidence in time. It was at the end of World War II that this technology was invented, the perfect time for a false flag. Here I want to draw a parallel with the alleged flight of the Americans to the moon in 1969. They pretended to land on the moon and have now lost their technology on how to return there. Like with the alleged Japanese atomic bombs, propaganda was shown to people and was enough to create mass hypnosis for decades to come. The fear of total annihilation kept the population in check. The USA and USSR created fake outer space and nuclear propaganda. There is nothing new about governments working together. Here are two photos, both from 1945, but different cities. In one there was carpet bombing, which is continuous intensive bombing. In the second, allegedly an atomic blast. Can you tell them apart? And if not, on what basis do you believe in the nuclear nature of the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki? Is it on the basis of a mushroom cloud? Here is the official photo of the US Army. At the bottom it says, Hiroshima atomic strike. It's not a mushroom cloud, said Richard Garwin, a renowned bomb designer and longtime advisor to Washington on nuclear weapons. Kevin Rourke, spokesman for the weapons laboratory in New Mexico, which made the Hiroshima bomb, famous like Little Boy, said that the smoke plume in the image is from subsequent fires. So it's just smoke, despite the fact that for many years it has been identified as a mushroom cloud and despite the watermark on the photo. I immediately foresee the inevitable question, why would they lie? Speaking for myself, when I used to believe in nuclear weapons, I relied on the state in case of any emergency situation. Since in reality, the United States and Russia have always been at one with each other, both nuclear agitation and outer space are beneficial to them in order to keep the masses in check. Stop believing in CGI and video compositions. Even me with my basic Photoshop and video editing skills, I can generate at least the coming of Christ, and I don't know where to find all this. So what is the evidence of the virus, aliens, and nuclear threats based on? On computer graphics? Some bottomless swamp of belief in endless threats. This cartel of globalists, transhumanists, communists, and Zionists want to divide and rule and deprive us of identity to create their own satanic dictatorship. You can also look at the current state of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Radiation in Hiroshima and Nagasaki today is the same level as the extremely low background radiation of natural radioactivity present anywhere else on Earth. This does not negatively affect the human body. Hibakusha is Japanese for people who have been affected by a bomb. As of 2014, there were 192,000 survivors, of which 1% according to the Japanese government had serious cancers caused by radiation after the bombings. Hibakusha and their children have been victims of severe discrimination when it comes to marriage and job prospects, and this is despite the fact that there was no increase in the number of congenital birth defects. You can still dig through the archives. For example, Brigadier General Crawford F. Sams was assigned to Japan in September 1945 as Chief of Public Health and Welfare Section of the General Headquarters, Supreme Allied Powers. From a 1979 transcript, he said the following: the purpose of this instruction was, you will play out the devastating effect of an atomic bomb. This time I've set a deadline, anyone who was in Hiroshima and died within 6 months, whether it's falling off a bike or something like that, will be attributed to be a victim of the atomic bomb. Does that remind you of anything? How about the COVID statistics? when most everyone who died of anything were recorded as dying from the alleged virus. So how many of the 166,000 in Hiroshima died directly as a result of carpet bombing, and how many due to another cause of death? We'll never know. So the results of Hiroshima without much diving into the details. 1. It was at the peak of World War II that atomic weapons were invented, tested and used, and I haven't believed in coincidences for 3 years. 2. The official photograph of the mushroom cloud reflects the aftermath of a fire, not an atomic blast. 3. Cities subject to carpet bombing looked just like Hiroshima and Nagasaki. 4. In the spring of 1946, flowers were in full bloom in Hiroshima and trees grew. And even then, the locals realized that with horror stories like that, nothing would grow, so were lies. True, they didn't think of it further though. As of 2022, 118,000 hibakusha have survived, that is, people who in childhood were in the immediate proximity of a bomb, and there was no surge in cancer rates. After 80 years in truth, we can say that the propaganda worked, because any person who hints that nuclear weapons are fake will receive an immediate response like, "But what about Nagasaki?" which is a mentally protective response to ignore the implications with a clear conscience. If nuclear weapons do not exist, then what was dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki? No atomic weapons. But 2 were dropped on Japan. What about Hiroshima and Nagasaki? The next frequently asked question is, what about Chernobyl? After all, the alleged meltdown of the core of a nuclear reactor leads to huge contamination. Before answering this question, it should be understood that nuclear power is environmentally friendly and does not require the burning of hydrocarbons. And this is incompatible with high electricity prices, as it is now in Europe. This is incompatible with a completely controlled population, dependent on handouts. Therefore, this form of energy is not beneficial to the infernals, and they will try to denigrate it. As for information, you can watch the documentary film, Chernobyl Grandmothers. This is the story of 100 women living on a radioactive exclusion zone. The half-life of plutonium-239 is 24,000 years, but the inhabitants of Chernobyl, who never left there, are absolutely healthy, which proves that someone is lying here. In Fukushima in 2011, we were told that everyone who eats fish will get sick. Nothing of the sort happened, and today people live in Fukushima, untouched by any consequences there. After 10 years of counseling disaster survivors in Fukushima about radiation, Masaharu Tsubokura believes the evacuation posed a far greater health risk. No one died from the radiation, he says, while the resettlement of tens of thousands of people has caused clear social and health problems. From Galen Windsor.
Okay, radioactive material. You pour it out in the hand, and that's radioactive contamination. Is it radioactive? Yeah, it is. Very radioactive. Now, decontamination is nothing but scooping it back up and putting it into the bottle. I just now decontaminated my hand. No, I didn't do such a good job. Not good at all. Is it still radioactive? Yeah, that's called residual radioactivity. Now, under the decontamination rules of the government, when you decontaminate somebody like this that's that contaminated, and this is certainly a reportable incident under current DOE regulations, when you decontaminate him, it has to go down a controlled drain so that you don't disperse radioactivity. Do I qualify as a controlled drain? That material that I just ate is not soluble in body fluids.
Let's stop this fear propaganda. Tell people you know about the nuclear prank. We have recognized another lie and are not going to participate in it. I will also give a short list of other fictions to help the next generation to create a better future without any nonsense. The Big Bang Theory is a lie. The theory of evolution is a lie. The limited amount of oil and gas is a lie. Peak oil is a conspiracy theory. The Earth replenishes itself with oil over time. Dinosaurs as described never existed. The War on Terror was a coordinated fictional setup. Race wars are lies. The climate is always changing in cycles. People have been manipulating the weather for many decades using this tactic to control the masses. NASA and Roscosmos are lying. In fact, all space agencies are lying. Planets are spherical rocks or gas, rotating and flying through space at impossible speeds, chasing the sun at 500,000 miles per hour is all a lie. All images of outer space are computer graphics. Going to the moon is impossible. All missions to Mars or anywhere else in outer space never happened. The Earth is a motionless plane. This is scientifically provable and reproducible. This realm is special and created by the Creator. You are special and powerful. Don't let it be taken away from you. Don't let yourself be intimidated and be on the alert, as a new round of propaganda will soon begin. Be everything the globalists don't want you to be, and never again freely give up your right to make decisions. Take back this right now against the backdrop of evil, and you'll get it back forever. It's all a choice, your choice.